possible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Pete Fitz, and for the next hour, I'll be reading from current issues of the Lockport Union-Sun Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Niagara County legislator appointed to the Federal Trade Board, Rich Andrus, will provide local voice in policy talks. Niagara County legislator Rich Andrus has been appointed to the office of the United States Trade Representatives Intergovernmental Policy Advisory Committee. The committee advises U.S. trade representatives on how trade policy impact state and local governments and the communities they serve. Congresswoman Claudia Tenney said Andrus' appointment ensures Western New York will have a strong local voice as federal trade policy is shaped and reviewed. Rich Andrus is a strong voice for Niagara County and Western New York, and his appointment to the USTR's Intergovernmental Policy Advisory Committee is great news for our region, Tenney said. Trade policy has a direct impact on our farmers, manufacturers, small businesses, and hard-working taxpayers. Rich understands these issues and will bring common sense, upstate New York values to the important advisory role. Thus, when USTR sought my recommendation for individuals to serve on the IGPAC, I strongly recommended Rich Andrus to represent the interests of our region and our communities. I look forward to seeing him advocate for policies that strengthen American workers, support our local economy, and keep Western New York competitive. Andrus said the appointment was an honor. Domestic and international trade affects every citizen, and supporting the economic well-being of Western New York has been a priority for me, both as chairman of Niagara County's Economic Development Committee and, more broadly, as a county legislator. I'm looking forward to building on our region's success and ensuring Western New York has a strong voice in this important committee in the years ahead, Andrus said. State Senator Robert Ort applauded the appointment. Legislator Andrus is a dedicated public servant and excellent choice to serve on the U.S. Trade Representatives International Policy Advisory Committee. His tenure in the Niagara County Legislature has given him a deep understanding of the needs of Western New Yorkers and the challenges faced by the various business sectors in our community. I extend my congratulations to Legislator Andrus on his appointment and look forward to having a strong advocate for Western New York serving at a national level. Assemblyman Angelo Morinello added, Rich Andrus has long been a dedicated advocate for Niagara County and Western New York, and his appointment to the U.S. Trade Commission, Trade Representatives Policy Advisory Committee is well deserved. Rich brings a deep understanding of opportunities and challenges facing our local businesses, manufacturers, farmers, and communities. I have no doubt he will be a strong voice for our region as national trade policy is developed. Congratulations to Rich on this important appointment, and I look forward to seeing the positive impact of his service. SUNY Niagara signs on to state programs. Expansion allows eligible students to receive educational support. SUNY Niagara leaders today announced the campus will join the State University of New York's Advancing Success in Associate Pathways, or ASAP, and Advancing Completion Through Engagement, ACE, the nation's leading college retention and completion models, as part of a statewide expansion to serve 10,000 students at 44 SUNY campuses by fall of September of 2026. ASAP supports students pursuing associate degrees, while ACE supports baccalaureate students. Eligible students can have access to a wide array of resources and support to help them overcome barriers that can prevent them from obtaining a degree. This includes funding to cover textbooks, groceries, transportation, and other costs of attendance, as well as comprehensive personalized advisement, academic support, and career development activities. You can check out suny.edu/ASAP-ACE for more information. The expansion was made possible through an additional $8 million in allocated funding for fiscal year 2026-27. An enacted state budget, bringing the total state investment in this successful program to $20 million annually. SUNY Niagara will launch its ASAP program with an inaugural cohort of 150 students this fall. Earning a college degree remains the best path to long-term financial success, said Lloyd Holmes, SUNY Niagara president. Broadening ASAP and ACE will break down more of the barriers that stand between students and graduation, further reinforcing SUNY Board of Trustees' unsurpassed commitment to completion. SUNY is committed to the success of every student, and the continued expansion of the ASAP ACE will help ensure our students can complete their degrees on time, achieve their dreams, and move forward on a path to upward mobility, said Chancellor John B. King, Jr. I'm thrilled that through the support of Governor Kathy Hochul and the state legislature, and for the SUNY Board of Trustees, these vital programs will serve 10,000 students across the state this fall, and I thank the SUNY Niagara administration, faculty, and staff for their unwavering commitment to student success. The SUNY Board of Trustees said, through the steadfast support of Governor Hochul, the state legislature, and continued support from philanthropy, SUNY has been able to expand ASAP ACE to serve thousands of students throughout the state. With this significant expansion, even more of our students will have access to the advising financial resources and wraparound supports that help them stay on track and complete their degrees. To learn more about ASAP at SUNY Niagara, visit SUNY, SUNY Niagara.edu/ASAP/ or contact Stephanie Florzak at 716-614-6219. Lockport Lions Award. The Lockport Lions Club held its annual President's Installation Dinner at Lockport Town Country Club on June 5th. Past District Governor Lion Jeff Jarvis was on hand to install incoming officers and present awards. During the dinner, Lion President Burt Marshall, pictured above, There's a picture of Marshall with Jarvis. Received his Melvin Jones Fellow Award. The program was established in 1973 in honor of Melvin Jones, the founder of Lions Clubs International, and recognizes donations to Lions Clubs International Foundation. Marshall received a pin, commemorative plaque, and a letter from the LCIF, Lions Clubs International Foundation. Marshall also received the Lockport Lions outgoing president's plaque. For information about Lockport Lions, visit Lockport Lions Club, Western New York, WNY.com. Politics have no business in Alzheimer's progress. This is one of the opinion columns. A guest view. There are exciting times for those lives have been touched, for those whose lives have been touched by Alzheimer's, as promising medical advances could point the way toward diagnosing the disease earlier and treating it more effectively. But the progress threatens to be derailed by the Trump administration that is often indifferent to or outright hostile toward bedrock scientific research. Overcoming the short-sightedness requires a bipartisan effort among elected officials and continued pressure from the Americans affected by the disease in some way. With more than 7 million Americans suffering from Alzheimer's and other dementia-related diseases and tens of millions of friends and family members serving as caretakers, standing by is simply not an option. I see how much hope research provides our patients. Mark Elbers, a neurologist and researcher at Mass General Brigham, told the Boston Globe. Extra headwinds are only going to slow down the field. But let's start with the good news, namely a recent study aimed at improving early diagnosis and treatment of a disease that is expected to double in prevalence by 2060. Researchers reported Wednesday that a new blood test may predict if seemingly healthy older adults are likely to develop Alzheimer's symptoms over the next 5 or 10 years. No, it's not a cure or even a treatment, but it would allow those facing possible diagnosis time to learn preventative strategies that could lessen the daily impact of the disease or get into clinical trials for new medications. Granted, learning one is likely to develop Alzheimer's is frightening, but living with the disease is much worse. And medical professionals say is still too soon for healthy people to seek out the test, in part because there is still much to be learned about the cause and treatment of the disease. Wait and get tested when you can potentially do something about it. Study author Dr. Riza Sperling of the Mass General Brigham Neuroscience Institute told the Associated Press. At this point, I wouldn't change what I would tell someone to do. I'd still tell them to eat well, sleep well, exercise a lot, and stay engaged. Eventually, the hope is the blood tests will improve to the point where they can point patients toward individualized treatments. Again, prospects for those treatments, however, are endangered by the Trump administration's short-sighted approach to research funding. New rules promulgated by the Federal Office of Management and Budget would allow the government to determine or terminate research grants at any time, kill grants for work that doesn't align with the politics of the executive branch, and end projects that rely on collaboration with overseas colleagues. Much of Alzheimer's research, for example, requires large data sets, and American scientists routinely work with counterparts overseas. The disease doesn't discriminate against nationalities. The Trump administration, however, does. The rules changes set to go into effect on October 1st would take decision-making away from the scientists and give it to political appointees. Congress has the ability to override the change, but it would take bipartisan support and cooperation. Given that Alzheimer's doesn't care if you're a Republican or Democrat, the next step for lawmakers is clear. Northwest University law professor Jeremy Paul put it best, telling the Globe, "If your country wanted to commit suicide, it's hard for me to think of anything that would be more effective than doing so than the rules." You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Lockport Union-Sun Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Council approves Bewley building measures. Public hearing and vote on rezoning of parking lots set for August 12th. Heidi Truschel Light. After hearing pointed comments from local leaders about delays, the Common Council unanimously approved a resolution Wednesday to hold a public hearing and vote on rezoning the Bewley Building's parking lot on August 12th at 6 p.m. John Craig, First Ward Alderman, was absent. In a written statement, Carlos Speranza, County Legislator for the 12th District in Lockport, described the city's process to address the rezoning as dragged out by indecision and delay, whether intended or not. The resolution brought by Catherine Fogel, 4th Ward Alderman, also authorized the city's Corporation Council to prepare a local law amending the city's code to change the zoning classification of 26 Market Street from mixed light industrial to mixed use downtown. The measure advances the process for Pathstone Development to implement its proposed renovation project of the Bewley Building into 100 affordable apartments in order to build a fire code compliant stairwell without altering the Bewley Building's historic character. Pathstone would need to construct the stairwell on the wall facing the parking lot. To allow the stairwell, Pathstone seeks to change the parking lot zoning from mixed light industrial to mixed use downtown, which would match the Bewley Building zoning. Former Alderman Anita Mullaney read Speranza's words to the Common Council. "We need safe, affordable housing. Pathstone has provided a solid and achievable plan. What else do you want for Lockport and the Bewley Building?" Speranza wrote. "Further delay will likely result in either subpar alternate parking project that puts lipstick on a pig and pads someone's wallet, or comes at a higher cost and further deterioration of the property in the interim. I implore the council to vote in the affirmative." While questioning the need for rezoning of at the microphone, former Mayor Michelle Roman supported the resolution as a step toward renovating the Bewley Building. "I don't even see why this is necessary," Roman said. "The zone is mixed light industrial. Residential is included. What Pathstone wants to do is allowed in the zone. The downtown doesn't need another empty building, so there's other buyers out there for a hotel is not reality. They are not having discussions with the current owners. Assemblyman says state police should probe sex abuse in Buffalo Diocese by Mark Shearer. A state assemblyman from Western New York wants New York State Police to launch a criminal investigation into the sexual abuse of minors in the Catholic Diocese of Buffalo. During a press conference on Wednesday, Assemblyman Patrick Burke of Buffalo, a Democrat, called for an end to what he described as the balkanization of criminal investigations into diocese-related misconduct, suggesting the bulk of recent cases involved local police forces operating on their own and without higher-ups levels of law enforcement. He pointed to the arrest earlier this month of former Cheektowaga priest Jeffrey Nowak, child pornography charges, amid what U.S. Attorney Erin Mango described as accusations involving some of the worst stuff she has ever seen in her life. Nowak said he believes the only reason the community saw criminal action in the case was that the federal investigators got involved. He said he'd like to see a similar approach adopted locally, as the Nowak case highlights the severity and significance of child sex abuse and child sexual predation in the local Catholic Church is a matter that should be addressed criminally. He noted that similar concerns about child sexual abuse within the diocese were raised roughly a decade ago when former Bishop Richard Malone was still in charge, and years before the recent revelations about Nowak's alleged conduct came to light. At the time, I warned that we were only scratching the surface of how depraved and how serious this was, Burke said. In a letter to Amy Ferraletto, commander of Troop A in Batavia, Burke asked the state police to take the lead on coordinating the investigation. He also called for the creation of an investigatory task force to oversee future criminal probes involving the diocesan sexual and child abuse claims. In a statement issued Wednesday afternoon, following Burke's press conference, Gregory Tucker, a spokesman for the Buffalo Catholic Diocese, said, as it did following Nowak's arrest, that the church leaders are fully committed to providing federal investigators with any and all background and relevant information necessary for their full investigation and prosecution of alleged crimes. The diocese pledges to cooperate fully with federal, state, and local law enforcement officials in their investigation of Jeffrey Nowak, and will provide any personnel information to ensure his fully accountability according to the law for these heinous allegations, Tucker said in a statement. Tucker also noted that the diocese forbade Nowak from functioning as a priest within the Buffalo Diocese in 2019, noting that under canon law, the diocese was obliged to provide some level of financial assistance to Nowak, even though he had been removed from the service. The diocese eliminated the financial support it was giving Nowak after he was placed in federal custody. Tucker said Bishop Michael Fisher has referred the latest charges brought by the FBI to the Diocese Independent Review Board and is in the process of petitioning the Vatican's direct dicastery for the doctrine of the faith to remove Nowak from the clerical state, a process known as laicization. The diocese was not aware of any allegations against Nowak involving child pornography or the sexual abuse of minors before the FBI announced charges on July 9th, Tucker said in a statement. The diocese has adopted rigorous policies and protocols to address allegations of sexual abuse against bishops, priests, employees, and volunteers of the diocese, which include referring such allegations to law enforcement. Moreover, in the past 3 consecutive years, an independent auditor has determined that the diocese is in full compliance with the adherence and enforcement of its policies and protocols. As the president touts Trump accounts, some families are still waiting. Washington. President Donald Trump says Trump accounts could hoist children out of poverty and give more Americans the chance to benefit from investments in the stock market. But some parents say they're still waiting for the money to arrive. Trump on Wednesdays plans to speak at a Georgia high school to promote the investment accounts, which offer $1,000 in seed money to every child born during his second term. The accounts went live on July 4th, 2 days before Trump rang the opening bells for both New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ from the Oval Office. The tax advantage accounts created last year through Trump's signature One Big Beautiful Bill can be opened for any child under the age of 18. The Treasury Department boasts 6.5 million sign-ups for Trump accounts, with 1.5 million of those eligible for the $1,000 seed funding for babies born from 2025 through 2028. Boosters of the program say it's a chance to give more Americans a stake in the stock market. They hope it will stem the rising popularity of Democratic socialists who seek to raise taxes on corporations and the wealthy to ease the cost of things like food and health care for lower income and middle class Americans. After the Trump accounts are set up, parents, relatives, and friends and employers can contribute to them. Some billionaires have also pledged philanthropic contributions. The money is turned over to private firms that invested in index funds, a type of mutual fund that tracks the performances of the stock market. The money cannot be accessed until the child turns 18, and only then for specific purposes such as going to school, opening a business, or buying a home. You are listening to reading of articles and features from the Lockport Union-Sun Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. State officials warn of Mega Millions imposter scams. Schenectady. The New York State Gaming Commission is alerting the public about a lottery imposter scam. Individuals have reported receiving calls from someone claiming to be a high-ranking Mega Millions official based in New York. The caller tells victims they won $18.6 million in 2 new Mercedes-Benz vehicles, but must first pay taxes before the prizes can be delivered. The scammer claims the check and vehicle warranties expire if they are not delivered immediately. The commission reminds players real lotteries don't reach out to winners. If notified about a winning ticket or a big lottery prize unsolicited, this is a scam. You cannot win a lottery prize if you did not purchase a ticket. The New York Lottery does not know who won until the winning ticket is presented to the lottery for payment. You can only win a lottery prize by purchasing a ticket from a licensed lottery sales agent, ordering a ticket through a licensed lottery courier service, or purchasing a New York Lottery subscription. The Commission urges players to follow these steps to avoid being scammed. Never give personal or financial details to anyone claiming that you have won. There are no processing fees. If asked to pay a fee to get your prize, this is a scam. The Commission doesn't ask for claiming fees. If you receive a check accompanied by a request for processing or claiming fees, this is also a scam. Do not deposit the check as it is fraudulent. It will bounce and may negatively impact your bank account. Don't send green dot money cards. If asked to pay taxes on your prize by sending a green dot money card or a gift card, this is also a scam. Governments do not collect taxes this way. If asked for potential or financial information, including Social Security number, date of birth, maiden name, bank account number, and credit card number purportedly related to the lottery prize, this is a scam. Although you may need to provide some of this information to claim the prize when presenting a winning ticket for the payment, this information is not relevant until you make a claim. If you are notified of a lottery subscription prize pursuant to the terms of the New York State Lottery Subscription Program, contact the Lottery Subscription Center at 518-388-3370 or gaming. You can find that at sm.subscriptions@gaming.ny.gov. To learn more, visit nylottery.newyork.gov/integrity. House Republicans adopt a $95 billion package for the Iran war. Washington, the House adopted a Republican-only $95 billion budget proposal Wednesday, a long-shot effort to fund the Iran war and other White House priorities over objections from Democrats and a few GOP holdouts in a final push before the midterm elections. House Republicans were divided over the plan, with conservatives wary because there are no offsetting budget cuts. But Speaker Mike Johnson plunged ahead, viewing the go-it-alone process as the best chance to usher President Donald Trump's priorities through the split Congress, despite skepticism in the Senate. The vote tally was 216 to 214, with 2 Republicans and 1 independent joining Democrats in opposition. Just bullets and bombs to finish the job, said Rep. Jody Arrington, a Republican of Texas, the chairman of the Budget Committee. Democrats argued the money should be spent at home, particularly on efforts to lower costs for Americans. Republicans plan to spend tens of billions of dollars on Trump's failed war in Iran, said Representative Pete Aguilar of California, chairman of the House Democratic Caucus this week. Thinking about what we could spend with the resources instead. Congress is at a standstill over the U.S. war against Iran, unable to stop Trump military strikes, but not having authorized the use of American military forces. And politically torn over having to provide billions of taxpayer dollars to pay for it. Most Americans disapprove of Trump's Iran strategy, according to a recent AP-NRC poll. The budget battle comes as Trump attended the dignified transfer of 4 service members killed in the Middle East, bringing the military death toll to 18. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told senators at a fiery hearing this week that the Pentagon is running short of cash despite a massive $150 billion one-time allotment in last year's big budget bill. Even as the House action advanced the resolution, Johnson's strategy faces uncertainty as in the Senate. The package has $60 billion for the Pentagon and $13 billion for other national security needs, $12 billion for farmers struggling under Trump's tariffs, and $10 billion for voting law changes aligned with the Save America Act and proof of citizenship requirements that are Trump's top priority. Republicans are relying on the budget reconciliation process, which enables approval on a majority vote in Congress, passing the Senate's ability to filibuster, or bypassing the Senate's ability to filibuster the measure to stall or kill it. Once rare, the reconciliation process is now Johnson's preferred strategy for pushing proposals through Congress. It's the way Republicans approved Trump's big tax breaks and spending cuts bill last summer and funded Homeland Security this year over Democrats' refusal to fund Trump's mass deportation agenda. No matter how you feel about current events, these funds are necessary to ensure our fighting forces remain ready, our troops are paid, and our nation is safe, said Representative Mike Rogers of Alabama, the Republican chairman of the Armed Services Committee. 7th in an installment in a series of breaking down each position of the Buffalo Bills training camp, which opened yesterday. Strength in numbers. Team has potential to keep 4 tight ends on 53-man roster. This is by Nick Sabato. Orchard Park. The Buffalo Bills have good tight ends. Haven't you heard? Since the Bills drafted Dalton Kincaid in the first round of the 2023 NFL Draft, we have heard a lot about the team's tight ends. Kincaid had a superb rookie season, but a nagging PCL tear has slowed him in the last 2 seasons. A lot of teams would like Dawson Knox as their number 1 tight end, but he hasn't been able to match the consecutive 500-yard seasons that earned him contract extension in 2022. And he's missed 13 games due to injury over the last 3 seasons. Jackson Hawes made an immediate impact as a blocker during his rookie season, but hasn't shown he is capable of being the receiving threat Kincaid and Knox have established themselves to be. And much has been made about the NFL's trend toward heavier personnel package to take advantage of defenses built to defend the pass. It seems like the Bills would be tailor-made for that. We just haven't seen it. Aside from the first handful of games during Kincaid's rookie season, the Bills haven't used multi-tight end packages at a high rate. After a wrist injury to Knox in 23, the Bills largely scrapped their 12 personnel. That's one running back, two tight end packages. In fact, the Bills spent 2 seasons leading the league in using 6 offensive linemen as a tight end instead of just using 2 tight ends. They even moved away from that last season. So what the Bills have are a collection of interchangeable tight ends. Knox re-signed on a more team-friendly contract, and Kincaid claims to be healthier than last year after once again passing on surgery. So perhaps this is the season the Bills add more multi-tight end looks, because last year they ranked 27th in the 12 personnel rate at 11%. And 17th in the 13 personnel at 4.6% of plays. The only dual tight end sets the Bills used frequently was 22, which is 2 running backs and 2 tight ends, which they used on over 50 plays more than anyone else. Everyone brings something different to the table, Knox said. It's not like we're all the same in terms of our skill sets or strengths and weaknesses as players. We kind of work off each other. Me and Dalton in the game together is a whole different animal than Jackson and Dalton in the game together. I think that versatility is huge. Kincaid's health is the key to everything when it comes to Buffalo's tight end use. The Bills have hinted at continuing to keep Kincaid on a pitch count like they did last year to manage his body. But Kincaid beefed up to 10 to 12 pounds during the offseason to handle the punishment that accrues throughout the season. More importantly, the Bills have exercised the 5th-year option on his rookie contract, giving him $8.162 million salary in 2027. General Manager Brandon Beane responded like it was a no-brainer decision in January, and it's unlikely the Bills would make such a financial commitment to a player they had health concerns about. And if Kincaid is healthy, rotating tight ends won't benefit the Bills. Kincaid played 37% of the snaps in games he played, although that was skewed near the end of the season when the Bills were attempting to manage his health. Knox led the way with 57%, and Hawes with 43. The first 5 games when Kincaid was healthier, he was still only at 49%. That was behind Knox at 52. Hawes still cut into the snaps at 36, almost 37%. And even when Kincaid was in the game, it didn't always feel like he was an integral part of the offense, even though he had 20 receptions and 3 touchdowns in the first 5 games. Training camp battles, roster tight ends, Jackson Hawes, Dalton Kincaid, Dawson Knox, Kaleki Latu, and Shane Zylstra. The top 3 tight ends are safe as any group on the roster, and they're not going anywhere, but it's out of the question. The Bills keep 4 tight ends on the final 53-man roster. Okay. You are listening to a reading of articles and features from the Lockport Union-Sun Journal on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Back with the Bills. A blocking specialist, Zylstra, signed during the spring after 4 seasons in Detroit, making 18 catches for 136 yards and 4 touchdowns in 35 games. What will determine how many tight ends the Bills keep is whether or not they keep a fullback on the roster. Reggie Gilliam signed with the New England Patriots during the offseason, and the Bills are coming off using 2 running back sets on 22% of their plays, the 6th highest rate in the league. Buffalo signed Ben Van Sumeren, a converted linebacker from the Eagles, and Wisconsin undrafted free agent Jackson Akers. Van Sumeren has had 2 season-ending injuries since switching to fullback and has just 22 career fullback snaps to his name. Fullbacks are part of the tight end room, so if the Bills feel one of their 8 ends fill that role better, then they could take 4. But Van Sumeren has an early edge because of his versatility and special teams ability. Shoppers to feel the pain, groceries and back-to-school items to be impacted by oil prices, by Kathy Busewitz, May Anderson, and Ann Dinocenzio. Already feeling pinched since the start of the Iran war, consumers are likely to feel more pain ahead as oil prices pushed past $100 a barrel Thursday, amid renewed fighting and military strikes that have left global oil supplies stranded in the Middle East. The elevated price marked a turn from lower oil prices enjoyed briefly when hostilities between the U.S. and Iran waned in June. Brent crude, the international standard, last reached $100 a barrel in May. Companies that produce and sell fresh food, school supplies, anything that gets shipped using fuel reported costs impacts from an earlier spike in energy prices after the U.S. and Israel attacked Iran. They're likely to continue passing some of their increased expenses to consumers, since everything relies on petroleum in our economy. For good or ill, if the cost of petroleum goes up, then everything else goes up as well, said Joe Adamski, managing director at procurement services company Procurability. Gasoline prices returned to $4 or more in most states. Volatility along the Strait of Hormuz and broader regional instability pushed up the price of crude oil, the main ingredient in gasoline, and could continue to make driving costs costlier during the second half of summer, according to AAA Motor Club. The U.S. price for regular gasoline averaged $4.09 a gallon on Thursday, 15 cents more than a week ago. And drivers in most states are paying $4 or more, according to the AAA. Given the typical lag along the oil industry supply line, prices at the pump are poised to keep rising at least into next week, said Pavel Molchanov, investment strategy analyst and investment bank Raymond James. Molchanov noted that future prices for oil delivered later this year and next year were lower, suggesting prices could fall once military action ends. For the most part, higher gasoline prices haven't stopped Americans from driving. Gasoline demand rose 1% to 8.9 million barrels per day last week, according to the U.S. Energy Information Administration. Shoppers are paying more for a bag of groceries. Grocery prices generally rise with oil because farmers use diesel to power equipment, while many food products are transported by trucks that require fuel. Oil at 100 doesn't make food prices jump right away, but it does put upward pressure across the food supply chains, especially for categories that depend heavily on trucking, cold storage, and packaging, said Miguel Gomez, a Cornell University professor who directs the school's food industry management program. Fresh produce and dairy could feel a larger impact because they require refrigeration during delivery. Imported goods are also vulnerable to higher shipping costs, Gomez said. Things like olive oil that we produce very little here and are coming mostly from Europe are going to be up. Grocery chain Albertsons on Thursday lowered its 2026 fiscal outlook, citing pressure on its core grocery business and pullback in consumer spending. Every product that moves will have higher costs baked into the price. Higher fuel costs for ships, trucks, and air carriers can trickle down to the consumers and businesses that depend on shipping. UPS, FedEx, and other shipping services introduce fuel surcharges and other fuels as prices increased, according to an AFS Logistics and TD Cowen Freight Index released July 2014. Truckload pricing is at a 4-year high because of rising fuel costs and capacity constraints. Andy Dyer, CEO of AFS Logistics, said diesel prices in the second quarter were about 51% higher than in January and February, while jet fuel prices rose 90% from a year earlier. Beyond the direct impact of higher freight bills and by shippers, these price movements also have second-order effects that squeeze rates higher, he said. Smaller truckload carriers working on tight margins may park trucks and wait for fuel prices to revert to a more palatable level before returning to operations. Retailers are noticing consumers pulling back. Red Cross has declared a national blood crisis, seeking immediate donations with supplies low. For only the second time in history, the American Red Cross has declared a national blood crisis. Donors are asked to act immediately to help save lives. Blood donations have fallen to a 4-year summer low, worsening this season's emergency blood shortage. All blood types are needed, but the situation is especially dire for type O blood, as the Red Cross is now limiting distributions of these blood products to hospitals. The supply of type O positive blood is now dropped below a 1-day supply. Donors are being asked to book an appointment to give blood by using the Blood Donor app, visiting redcrossblood.org, or calling 1-800-733-2767. As a thank you, all who come to give by Friday, tomorrow, will receive a Fandango movie ticket by email up to $15 ticket price and fees. You can go to redcrossblood.org/July for more information. Additionally, those who come in August will receive a $20 Amazon gift card. Again, redcrossblood.org August/August for more information. Despite thousands of people who have stepped up to help, the emergency blood shortage since it was declared earlier this month, donations are still not keeping pace with hospital demand. The situation has escalated. Extreme heat, poor air quality, and widespread foodborne illness continue to contribute to poor donor turnout this summer. Locally, on August 5th, from noon to 5 p.m., Gratwick Firehouse in Ward Road, North Tonawanda, will be having a donations blood collection drive. August 11th, from 1 to 6 p.m. at the Dale Association Incorporated at 33 Ontario Street in Lockport. And on August 12th, 1 to 6 p.m. at Lewiston Fire Company, number 1, Lewiston Fire Company, number 145 on North 6th Street. Niagara County included in USDA disaster declaration, one of 32 counties included for crop-destroying weather earlier this year. Robert Creenan. Niagara County farmers who lost crops to frost earlier this year have a chance for some relief. The county was one of 32 listed in the USDA disaster declaration for frost and other weather events that happened this past April and May. The growers in these areas had more than $30 million in economic losses from their fruit crops being destroyed, with farmers losing anywhere from 15 to 100% of their crops. This makes farms eligible for low-interest emergency loans from the Farm Service. They have 8 months to apply for the loans. New York growers experienced significant damage early this year, with some losing an entire growing season and reporting tens of millions in economic loss, said Governor Kathy Hochul. Niagara is among 29 counties included for a frost and freeze event between April 19th to the 21st of this year, where warm temperatures cause fruit crops to bloom early and subsequent frost damage them. Other counties included were Broome, Cayuga, Chemung, Columbia, Cortland, Dutchess, Fulton Green, Montgomery, Nassau, Onondaga, Ontario, Orange, Orleans, Oswego, Putnam, Rockland, Saratoga, Schuyler, Seneca, Steuben, Suffolk, Tompkins, Ulster, Washington, Wayne, Westchester, and Yates. Erie County was the only county listed for a declaration due to excessive rain and flash flooding from March 31st to April 1st, in which Niagara County was listed as a contiguous county for. Other instances listed were for frost and freeze from April 7th and 8th, May 11th and 12th, and for high winds and hail from May 13th and 14th. If you would wish to hear the remainder of the article, please contact Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Services at 716-821-5555. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the current issues of Lockport Union-Sun Journal. We read from the Lockport Sun Journal every Saturday at 5 p.m. Your reader has been P. Fitz. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the Jamestown Post-Journal. At 7 o'clock, we got the Niagara Falls Review, and at 8 o'clock, we have the Off-Duty from the Wall Street Journal. Stay with us for these readings and more. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Radio readers broadcast daily readings 24 hours a day of newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability who are provided reading radios. Our broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio reading broadcasts throughout the city of Buffalo, western New York, and southern Ontario's Niagara Peninsula. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call us at 716-821-5555. The following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability.